It's Sports by the Book at the South Point Studio. Here's Jeff Parles.
Welcome in at Sports by the Book, South Point Studio, the first Friday of the month of May. I'm Jeff Parles. Alex White is alongside. Good morning.
Good morning. Happy Friday, everyone.
Happy
Thanks for tuning in.
Absolutely. Happy Friday. I will throw this out there before we get going. If you're looking for a preview of the Kentucky Derby, just keep it on the channel. When we're done today, watch us first. Then when we're done, watch the Kentucky Derby special that Ralph Sirocco led yesterday afternoon. Alex made an appearance. John Lindo was there. Kaluch was there. So many people. Honestly, I thought we were going to set the record for most people on the desk at one point or another. It was even like SNL at the end where everyone was standing up next to Ralph. Like, hey, great show, everyone. All that fun jazz. But seriously, the best Kentucky Derby preview out there. After we're done, make sure you stay on the channel. Watch that. Available now. Getting you ready for the Oaks, which is also later today. The weather does not look good in Louisville. So, but that's all the horse racing as well. Race Day Las Vegas also available right now on the channel.
Ralph did a fantastic job, and you're right. A ton of guests, even remotely too. And you got to give Sean a shout out because he really produced, directed, did everything back there, and Ralph was very pleased with that as well.
I will say, because Sean on the other show, one of the other shows, Punchlines, as we know, Frank Nicotero, which will come at noon today. The audience, the punchies as we call them, the fans, the P1s as we say in the radio business, have really thrown Sean under the bus. Sean does a great job here. He does not deserve to be called creepy Sean. That's just not right. That's not right. He's a great kid. Great kid.
You know where that came from, though, right?
Oh, no.
Okay.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Yes.
And that was
You
not
put
a good
the photo with the hood.
It was a very bad photo, Sean, but it was also years ago. So
Yeah.
he had an excuse. He was a kid. He's still a kid right now. We have the two younglings in today, Sean and Caden. So anything flies back there today. All right.
And Ralph will be on Punchlines today as
Yes,
well.
he will. Yes,
yeah,
he will.
for an appearance.
All Sirocco all the time.
Yeah.
Here on the network. All right, hit the graphic. Let's go. The starting five. There you go. Look at that. Maybe we might need to turn that into a Pix at 12:36. Give some sort of jingle. Let Caden sing it or something like that. All right, number one, Vegas Golden Knights in action tonight, looking to stave off elimination. Dallas looking for the backdoor sweep after falling in an 0-2 hole. They've won 3 in a row. They've clearly been a better team in this series, Alex. It's last night, the number was a pick in this game, -110 both sides. As of this moment, it is still a pick, -110 both sides here behind us. Some books have Dallas as the smallest of favorites right now. Total 5.5, pretty standard along the way. And Alex, home teams, of course, bad in this series. Only one win, and that was Game 5 for Dallas.
And that's the big news, right? Because we give so much to home ice, home court, home field, and it really hasn't mattered in this series, but Vegas comes back home hoping that they can steal one and push this to Game 7. We'll get into this more, but interesting enough, totals 3 and 2 to the under, sitting here at 5.5. It has jumped a little bit, 5.5 or 6. We'll give our takes on what we like in that one from a betting standpoint. Number 2, Vancouver looks to close out Nashville. Unknown who will be in net still. We know the Canucks have had 3 different goalies. You might have some news that you read about Demko.
I don't know if I have news. Dan Murphy said that Thatcher Demko was on the ice yesterday. Likely will hit the ice after the optional skate for the Canucks later this morning in Music City. We'll see. We'll see what happens there with Demko. Again, third goaltender. Pred's offense has been pretty stagnant in this series, have not been unable to take advantage. But hey, look, we already have one Game 7, which we'll get to a little bit later that we didn't expect to have. We might have a second. Maybe even we end up with 3 in this in a year where there was only one 2-2 series in the Stanley Cup playoffs going in to the Game 5s. Number 3, we go to the association. The non-competitive series before Game 5, Cavs look to close it out tonight in Orlando. Home teams 4-1 against the number. Cleveland did not cover in Game 5. That was the only time that the home team did not cover in their victory. Average margin of victory. I know you're a big fan more of the median, which I did not do this morning. I just did the average. Yes, I know
okay.
I know the one messes that up. But still, even with a 1-point game in Game 5, average margin of victory in this series has been over 17 points per game. So these first 4 games are not competitive. Orlando tonight at home, 3.5 or 4. It's 4 behind us. Total 200. We'll have our full thoughts in a little bit, Alex.
Yeah, that total has bumped up a little bit from the overnight. I was seeing 198, but I mean, it's all about the home team in this. So yes, 4-1 ATS, but 5-0 straight up. And the Magic showed us something the other night. They made that game very competitive in Cleveland. So this should be a good one. I think we may see a Game 7 for them. But we have another Game 6 in the association. Mavericks can eliminate the Clippers tonight in Dallas. They are a 7.5-point favorite at home. Total 208. My biggest question here is, I mean, this series has really been back and forth, and now Dallas looked really good in Game 5, and now they're laying 7.5. Is that a little inflated?
Luka Doncic looked the best he did all series in Game 5, and that is an alarming sign for the Clippers. My take still stands on this series. I can't stand it one bit. But
and that's why it's number 4.
I will have a play on
in the starting 5.
Maybe I'm going to plead the 5th on that one.
Okay.
But I actually am going to have a play on this game, which just shows where we're sitting on that series at this rate. And then number 5, a different LA team, potential NLCS preview in May in Los Angeles. The Dodgers taking on the Atlanta Braves. Garrett Stone, Charlie Morton, good pitching matchup tonight. Depending on where you're at, behind us, it's -110 on the Dodgers. There's a lot of -105 each side on dime lines out there. Total 9.5, of course. Both of these teams sitting in first place, respectively, in their divisions. Braves a half game ahead of Philadelphia. The Dodgers in command, 4.5 games clear, the only team over 500 in the NL West. We'll have our full baseball plays at 9:30 here this morning. So we'll plenty of stick with us. Alex has a few plays. I will have one baseball play today. One. And if I have more than one, I'm going to get up and leave this because that's probably not a good sign for anyone. Sean will have to move over and host the show.
He's been
he already
do
does
that.
everything anyway. So why not one more thing for his job here, Alex?
Yeah, I think he could do it. The most interesting thing to me in that series, Jeff, is we are going to have really good pitching matchups, but these two offenses are so good. So we'll talk about the total sitting there at 9.5 and whether we think that's enough, and maybe that's a sign to keep an eye on that moving forward through this series.
The pitching matchups for the rest of this series, Elder and Glasnow tomorrow, and then Fried and Paxton, who somehow has made it a month without getting injured. Sorry, James. We'll go for the Dodgers on Sunday. So, by the way, we're going to get another crack at Logan Webb on Sunday as an underdog. I can tell you that right now. We don't have a show on Sunday anymore. We're Tuesday to Saturday at 9 a.m. I can tell you right now, I'm going to be on Logan Webb on Sunday. I can tell you that right now, Alex.
Regressed a little bit in that last game, but I think we'll see some positive regression on Sunday with him.
Real quick, Alex White, 3-0 yesterday. Nick Series price in as well. Danny Burke had a good day 2 days ago.
Yes,
we give out winners every once in a while, guys. I mean, I know social media doesn't claim that, but we do. We give out winners every once in a while.
That's right. Yeah, Danny Burke with a 5-1 baseball day.
Yeah, I will say this, and I texted Danny this after the show. Like, dude, you are asking for doom with 6 baseball plays in one day. And Danny was awesome. 5-1 earlier in the week. All right, let's get into it here, Alex. Before we get to tonight's action as a whole, last night, I want to start with the hockey because the factor is coming again for Boston.
Yes, it is.
It didn't matter that Austin Matthews didn't play last night. 2 goals was enough for Toronto. By the way, if you had a puck line where you laid the 1.5 goals with Toronto last night, that's one of the worst beats of all time, where Boston scored with 1/10 of a second to go to lose 10-1, and they had to go to replay to see if the goal should have got. This is an awful, hellacious
I stopped
move.
watching, and then I saw the final 2-1, and I was like, what happened?
Well, the Bruins even tweeted out, final 2-0, and I'm like, okay. And then I saw the video, I was like, wow, that's a moose for sure. The Maple Leafs, I'll ask you, Alex, and we'll fully go into this tomorrow because we'll have a better sense if Matthews is going to be able to play or not by tomorrow. I think it's worth waiting this thing out and figuring out what the best price you can get on Toronto is. There's no pressure on the Leafs. This is backwards from what it usually is on Toronto. They were down 3-1 in this series. They're without their best player the last 2.5 games. They're not supposed to be in this series anymore. This series is supposed to end in 3 days ago. Now it goes back to Boston. The Bees, of course, last year, high-profile choke up 3-1 against Florida, lose that series. Now, happening again. I would look to bet Toronto. I actually would in this game. And I would absolutely look to bet the under at 5.5. Unless if we get some wackiness here, I don't see how we get this game. I would even be looking at alt under 4.5 personally. And this screams 2-1.
Yes.
2-0, something like that for game 7.
Yeah, so puck line either way may work out too, because I do think it'll be decided by 1. But you're right, that minus 140, I can tell you right now without even doing my numbers yet, is steep. Because I did have Toronto as a probably 30-cent favorite at home yesterday. So then you flip it here, and you made a great point. The pressure is off of them, and I think Boston is going to be kicking themselves again because they were so set that they were going to stick with their ways and their goalie switch, and now it's been Swayman too, and now what do? They can't go back to Ullmark. So I think they're kind of in a tough spot here, but it should be a good game. I mean, it's been a great series between the two.
Looking at tonight on the ice, we'll shift back to the NBA in a little bit because I have plenty of thoughts on the two series that went final last night, and we're even looking at some stuff looking ahead for the Knicks and the Pacers. Starting with Vancouver and Nashville first. This is the early game, 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific, 6 local in Smash City. $1.25 right now behind us on the Preds, plus 105 on Vancouver. You can get some $1.20s out there on Nashville. Total 5.5. Juices continue to come in on the under here. Alex, this has been high profile in this series. There's been two things. Vancouver's injuries in net, where we don't know who's playing tonight, very easily could end up being the third goalie again for Vancouver. We may even see Demko, potentially. We're not sure who's playing goalie yet. But neither team has created scoring chances in this series at all. That's why we're still, even with Vancouver on their third goalie, why we've had 3 rocking chair unders in this series. The other game 4 should have went under. It didn't because it went overtime, and game 1 pushed. But, Alex, there's not much to say here for me other than no reason to not just look at the under, and especially if we get Demko, you can end up with a better number here.
Yeah, I would imagine they would probably hold off on Demko, right? Since they are up 3-2 in this series, maybe wait to put him in when they go back home. But we could see him, and I think it's worth mentioning the Canucks won both games in Nashville already. So I think they're probably feeling pretty good, especially because, I mean, the Predators are 10% success on the power play, 2 of 19. That is the worst of all the playoff teams. And Canucks not much better, 15%, 2 of 13. But you're right. These two are 15th and 16th with shots on goal throughout the playoffs, worse than the Washington Capitals against the Rangers. So that says a lot about these two and the offense. I would only look to the under, but I like the Canucks. I like getting that plus money with this team who has been much better efficiently on offense. I mean, not much better, but has been better than Nashville. Nashville has not been good at all.
Been a weird series. Winner of this one will get Edmonton, who steamrolled the Kings out in 5. And it doesn't matter who wins this series. The Edmonton Oilers will be a favorite in the next round. And I'm just curious to see where that price would come if it is Vancouver, because Vancouver would have home ice in that scenario. But it's goaltending injuries, and they just haven't created chances. I know they're up 3-2. They won both road games. But you got to create chances against Edmonton if you're going to have a shot. And if they create the amount of chances they've had in this series, then you get swamped. I mean, it's going to be a 5-game series, and Edmonton's probably going to win that and get to a West Final.
Great point. And when I said they're 15th and 16th, it's Vancouver that is actually 16th, averaging 18.4 shots a game. But they've just been more successful, 13.2% of those over the Preds, 10%. So, I mean, they've kind of been lucky in that sense, and they are fortunate that they have this matchup against Nashville, but I mean, this series should already be over as well.
looking at the game tonight, just down the road from us, due north on I-15 on the Strip, T-Mobile Arena, the Vegas Golden Knights look to avoid elimination tonight. Up 2-0 in the series, winning both in Dallas. They come home. Dallas, of course, high profile. They win Game 3 despite the wild effort from Logan Thompson, and really have been clearly the better team in the last 3 games. Winning Game 5 by a goal. Tonight, it's a flip behind us. You can get better numbers on the Knights here in town. There's a bunch of plus 105 actually out there in town now, paying a little bit of a local premium behind us at the moment. 5.5 juice to the over. Alex, Bruce Cassidy really mixed it up in game number 5, really to no avail after the first period. There's no reason to think that Vegas is going to win this game here tonight. I just think at this point it's Dallas' series, and the Stars wrap this thing up here tonight in Vegas and go backdoor sweep, win this thing in 6, and we'll set up. I mean, it doesn't matter who wins this series. The winner of this series against Colorado is a mega series, regardless of who wins.
Oh, my gosh.
But I think it'll be Dallas tonight wrapping things up, and it'll end up with being Dallas and Colorado, which will be a heavy-duty series for round 2.
Hopefully I'm not going to be kicking myself after this. I made the case for the Knights going into Dallas. It wasn't a bet for me, but, I mean, this is the defending champions here, and I do think that they can get one win, especially coming back home. I know you thought it was a panic move putting Adin Hill in Game 5, but now thinking about it, might have just been a rest game for Logan Thompson, because they would not have been able to lose that game, come back here and put all the pressure on Adin Hill at home. So they give Logan Thompson rest. They go to Dallas. Now they come back home. Hopefully he's nice and rested, ready to go at home. But, I mean, really it's going to come down to the penalties. There hasn't been a whole lot besides game 1 and then the last one, but Vegas has got to be cleaner there because they really let one go, and that cost them the game in the last one. But great matchup. I mean, I think we're going to have a game 7 ultimately.
There is a game 7. It'll be Sunday in Dallas. Dallas will probably be if Vegas forces a game 7. Dallas will be about $1.50, $1.55 at home, like they've been most of the series. Dallas right now minus 450 to win this series. If you want the Knights, it's plus 350. The other series, Vancouver, you're laying $3, so minus 300, and then plus 250 on the takeback on the Preds in the series price, as you see on your screen.
I will say, too, the total for this game, which this is against what I'm usually about, and that is unders with hockey. But if you like Vegas, I would look to over 5.5 because they do have a good record here. They are 41, 10, and 6 in games that they scored at least 3 goals. And they're playing the Stars, who rank 3rd in goals for a regular season, 294. That's 3.6 per game. And we even talked to Andy McNeil leading up to this series, and he said Dallas, they're really good. They have a great goaltender, but they tend to be an over team. So I think if Vegas wants to hang in this one, they're going to have to definitely score some goals.
The only other series that we already know are set, just bringing this up real quick, because the Rangers and Carolina will start their series over the weekend. I'm still floored by the way this market has gone on this series, where the Rangers were as high as plus 140, even plus 145. It's starting to come back a little bit on plus 135. I know what the analytics say here. I know what your power ratings say. I want the team that won the President's Trophy with home ice advantage and a better goaltender. I know Shesterkin hasn't been the same dude this year as he was the last 2 years, but I'm floored at the way this has been priced and the way this market has played it. Where if it was Carolina, which begs the question, how high would this be if Carolina had home ice?
Yeah.
You'd be looking like $1.75, $1.70, at least a 20-cent difference at least on Carolina with home ice. I'm going to be on the Rangers. I'm absolutely going to be on the Rangers in this series, Alex. I probably need to take it now because I would imagine that the money's going to start floating in on the Rangers to keep chucking this price down. But look, if the Canes beat me, so be it. These are the 2 best teams in the NHL to me.
Right.
But home ice matters in this series, Alex. That's still a crazy. The original one that I saw where the Rangers were plus 120 and Carolina was minus 140, I thought was steep. This is definitely steep.
So I need to check and look into this more, but I did look at their regular season. The Rangers did win 2 of the 3 games. I need to see who was in net, though, because there was a time when Anderson was out. So that would make that a little bit different matchup between these two. My worry, and I want your opinion on this, is are the Rangers ready for this type of series now that they just had that very easy series against the Washington Capitals, who really should not have been in the playoffs? Do you think we'll see a little bit of rust from them coming from that, maybe even bad habits?
No.
Where the Canes had a very tough series and a scrappy Islanders. No? They're ready?
No. I
More fresh, even.
I think that's the better argument.
Okay.
I think the fact that the Rangers didn't have to expend much in order to get through a playoff series, you and I both know this. I think hockey playoff series are excruciating. They are battles, they are wars. And here you are for the Rangers, where that was as stress-free of a playoff series win as I can remember in the NHL. And you mentioned it with Carolina. Yeah, it only went 5, but a few bounces of the puck. We're talking about Game 6 tonight on Long Island with the Islanders with a 3-2 series lead right now. So I don't know. I think the Rangers have looked significantly better in this postseason. Credit to the Canes for ending a tough series in 5, though, because that could have very easily pushed to 7. And then, all right, you're almost punting Game 1 when you're out of gas on 1-day rest. It's a different look series at that point.
I cringed a little bit when one of those games went to overtime, but the Canes got it done pretty quickly there. But do you remember that year? The Rangers, I can't remember who they were playing, but it went to like double overtime. I think it was 2 years ago. And they basically played a whole nother game. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
So, and then they lost the next series coming up. So, I mean, these really can take a lot out of these really good teams and play more than. But the other point is that we always talk about being playoff hockey ready. And a lot of teams that sneak into the playoffs have already been playing playoff hockey and are ready to go. So that was a little bit of that point I made with New York. But regardless, I think this will be 7 games.
Speaking of the other New York team, we'll talk about them next when we get back. The Knicks survive what was as good of a first-round series in recent memory against Philadelphia. They'll take on the Pacers. We'll give you some updates on series prices. We'll also look at the 2 games in the association tonight as the Mavs and the Cavs. Hey, that rhymes. Both look to advance tonight in the NBA. That's next. Sports by the Book, South Point Studio.
From the South Point Studio, the perfect blend of sports,
But I think the Niners are going to wear them down. Detroit Pistons lost their 36 games.
comedy,
See over-under on that relationship lasting. I'm going to put mayo in the coffee.
I am beautiful, and a whole lot of Pittsburgh.
In Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh. Yeah.
Pittsburgh. Join Ryan McCormick,
That's at least 2 picks outside of our own in the first round next year. Oreo.
and host Frank Nicotero.
I look at the clock, I go, ah!
Watch Punchlines live at noon every weekday.
Once you've satisfied your hunger, get ready for more of the hottest casino games in Vegas. Our 24-hour, 30-table non-smoking poker room proudly hosts all the most popular poker games with a variety of betting limits. Visit the poker room for a schedule of daily tournaments. Whether you're going to hold 'em or fold 'em, the best place for poker is at South Point Casino. You'll notice that our craps tables are usually the loudest in the casino. If you've never played, join one of our free craps lessons to find out what makes this game so exciting. Check with the craps dealer for schedules and give it a roll. Bingo is also an exciting way to spend your time. We offer 7 sessions of bingo every day. And each session includes a cash ball jackpot, 12 bingo games, a progressive double action game, and a $10,000 bonus coverall. Electronic units are available. If you haven't played bingo with us, give it a try today. Guests can also get in on the action at our one-of-a-kind race and sports books. 2 separate rooms designed to maximize your experience and comfort. Our sports book, with over 400 seats, puts you right in the middle of the action, 24 hours a day.
Welcome back in Sports by the Book, South Point Studio. I'm Jeff Parles. Alex White is alongside. We're happy to be with you as always. Just a reminder, of course, if you're looking for Kentucky Derby coverage right here on the channel, the best Kentucky Derby preview in the business, Ralph Sirocco and a cast of thousands yesterday, including you, Alex White, were here yesterday. All the information is still good. Go watch that after we're done here at the top of the hour. Race Day Las Vegas this morning as well. And then, of course, at noon, Punchlines, Frank Nicotero, and it's Matt Neverett today, right? Matt Neverett, a triumphant return to the chair that Ann is currently sitting in back there for our guy, Matt Neverett. So it'll be a lot of fun there today at noon.
And just to add to, if you need the Kentucky Derby stuff, the seminar tonight here at South Point, you can come watch it live, but we'll also have it on our YouTube channel.
We are streaming that's 5 o'clock, correct, Dan? 6, thank you. 6 o'clock tonight, just a few paces to our left at the Grandview tonight. But if you can't make it down here, Ralph Sirocco, John Lindo, and more available right here on the YouTube page if you want to watch that seminar for betting the Kentucky Derby tomorrow, the 150th run for the Roses. I will also already tell you, if you are on Sierra Leone, I apologize in advance because I'm on Sierra Leone, which is the 2-horse for tomorrow afternoon. So
I like
don't be on number 2, Alex.
Well, I'm going to throw him in.
You're going to throw him in the box?
Yes.
Okay. And throwing him in an exotic is fine. Now, will I do that? Who knows? I'll make my decision probably about 20 minutes before the race, as I usually do. All right. Let's go to the NBA. Alex, that Knicks-Sixers series was an unbelievable 6-game battle. And credit to the Knicks, without Julius Randle, without Bogdan Bogdanovic, who's now done for the season after having foot surgery yesterday. And Jalen Brunson just was the best player in the series when it was all said and done. And the Knicks' toughness and defense find a way to get it done in 6 against a Philadelphia team that we know was better than a 7 seed. Joel Embiid's injury pushing them down the ladder in the Eastern Conference. And credit to New York for getting it done. Their reward is to get Indiana.
Right.
The Pacers take full advantage of the Bucks' injuries, win in 6. Dame did valiant effort last night from Damian Lillard to come back, but not enough. But for Indiana, their first playoff series win in 10 seasons. Now, the scene shifts here. This series will start on Monday. The Knicks are minus 270 to win the series. I don't want to talk about game 1 odds, which are up. Knicks are 6-point favorites. I want to look at some series stuff here. Because Alex White, I think the Indiana Pacers are live to upset the New York Knicks in this series. There are a few reasons for that. One, the Pacers are still the best offense in this tournament to me. They're the most complete. I know people will say Boston, Denver. Yes, I get it. Indiana has a little more uniqueness to me with the way that they play offense. Now, I'm not saying they would beat Boston in a 7-game series if they beat the Knicks. Not saying they'd beat Denver. I'm not even sure if they get a game off Denver, quite honestly. But I think the way the Pacers play offense will make the Knicks defense struggle a little bit. And more importantly at this point, Alex, the Knicks' depth at some point I think is going to become an issue. There's only so many injuries and so many games that you can play Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, and DiVincenzo 45 minutes plus.
Correct.
And Anunoby to throw in, who was awesome last night for the Knicks as well. But my favorite bet in this series, when it's all said and done, is I like this thing to go to distance.
Yep.
There are 2 tremendous home courts in this series. I know the Knicks lost game 5 against the Sixers. That was bizarre, the way it went down. The Pacers won all 3 home games against the Milwaukee Bucks. I'm going to look for the best number that I can. The predominant number is plus 220 for this series to go 7 games exactly. You can also take, what I don't mind, you can also take Indiana plus a game and a half at plus money.
Wow.
This screams 7 home wins in this series. If any road team wins a game in this series, they win, regardless if it's the Knicks stealing one in downtown Indianapolis or it's the Pacers stealing one at Madison Square Garden. I do think the Knicks win this series. I think home court matters, 7 straight home wins. But Indiana, if you steal game 2, you steal game 1, you get those 3 games in front of your home crowd, Pacers are live here. That's a good price at plus 230. There's even plus 240 out there. That would be the number I'd obviously take. But I think Indiana's offense and their better depth pushes the Pacers into a scenario where they can absolutely win this series out.
I agree. That is a great price. I also like that price for 7 games or even Pacers plus 1.5. I would probably lean towards those two over them winning this series. But you're right about the depth. I do worry about New York and that intense physical series that they're coming off of with the 76ers. The Pacers won 2 out of 3 in the regular season, so we know that they can hang with them. I don't think it's quite a terrible matchup like we just saw with the Bucks, but 8th ranked defense, 8th ranked offense. This is from Dunks and Threes for the Knicks. You're right about the Pacers. They are 2 offensively on that site, but 24th defensively. So they do have to figure some things out and make sure they can hang on that part. The most interesting thing to me is going to be the pace, because we know that the Indiana likes to push it, and then we know that the Knicks like to really slow it down. So I think whoever is controlling the pace will be winning that game. It's pretty easy stuff there. But I agree with you with the home court. I think this will go the distance, but I don't even have a lean right now.
The biggest thing also, and why I think the plus 1.5 on Indiana and the 7 gamers are better than just taking the Pacers out right here. Best player in the series is Jalen Brunson. But again, maybe I'm wrong here. Maybe the Knicks win this series in 5. Maybe it's because of the physicality in that Philadelphia series. This series will probably be less physical. Maybe the Knicks will prosper because of that. Maybe Indiana will prosper because if their style controls it.
Right.
Maybe Indiana will, if the Knicks are physical, or the Knicks will be physical. We know that, but maybe Indiana doesn't handle that well. There are good arguments on both sides here for this series being a 7-gamer or the Knicks winning this in 5. I think those are the 2 most logical arguments at this point. Or if you like Indiana, 6 is probably the number that they have to get it done in. So, but I will be on the 7-game lasting. I'm going to see what the best price ends up being. A lot of those numbers are starting to populate this morning. I'd love to see about plus 250, but I don't think we're going to get there when it's all said and done on this series. Real quick on Denver and Minnesota, because this series starts tomorrow, but we'll get there in a minute. We'll get there tomorrow in a little bit fuller. Minus 190 on Denver, plus 170 on Minnesota, the current update. I wish I was getting a better price on Minnesota. These numbers seem better, and I'd even lean to Denver laying less than $2 in this series.
So you do like Denver?
I would lean to Denver. At these prices, yes, I would lean to the Nuggets.
And it's tough because I do think that the Nuggets take game 1. So I don't think you're going to get a better number if you're going to try and wait and see how that first game goes. But, I mean, this team, they know how to win in the playoffs. And I know Minnesota has been awesome, especially Ant. But game 1, I think Denver will really step up for.
That's tomorrow, game 1. Denver currently 4.5 at home, which seems a little light, by the way, at home against Minnesota. Both of these teams on extended rest. Of course, Denver closed their series out on Monday, and the Timberwolves closed their series out on Sunday. So both teams are fresh in this game.
And is that enough rest, though, for Jamal Murray, who
Should
we
be.
know was dealing with some injuries, but then looked awesome in the last game?
Playoff Jamal is a different animal. Very, very, it's amazing. Never made an all-star team, never any all-NBA teams, but guys nails in the postseason.
Yes.
Best player, and that's him and Jokic were 2 best players. And then not to besmirch LeBron, who was amazing. But Jamal Murray was the one who put that series to bed for good. All right, to tonight. Orlando, Cleveland, Magic, 3.5-point favorites, total 200. Alex, there's only one play that I like in this game, and I think you can guess it.
Under.
Under.
Okay.
Yeah. Under. This feels grindy. This feels grindy yet again. The only game in the series that's gone easily over was Game 5. The other ones took a little bit of help to get there, but this feels like this is going to be played in the 90s. I like this thing under. Look for the best number. You have missed the best of it. I will say that. So I'd love to get back to 201 and be okay. Yeah, I missed it by a point, but not as badly as this 200. But this feels like a 90s game for me, where both teams are in the low 90s here, Alex.
Well, there's a correlation between our 2 bets because I do like the Magic laying the points here at home. They're the best home team in the league throughout this entire season, so I don't see why that would change. I mentioned it earlier, I'm so impressed with Orlando and what we saw from them going to Cleveland and making that a game. I mean, they very easily could have won that game, but I like them to cover here. I'm interested to see what we'll get for Game 7 if we get a Game 7, but we know that they are one of the best defenses in the league, so if you like the Magic, I think you'd have to like the under.
I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that at all. Again, road teams 0-5 in this series. They've only covered once, which was Game 5, and that was a pretty lucky cover when it was all said and done as well. This has been a series that has really not been competitive. Orlando's 3-1, by the way, if you want them to come back and win this series. There are worse 3-1 bets to be made, Alex White.
I agree, and the big question mark is Jared Allen, right?
Yeah,
we didn't
he missed
see him.
Game 5, yeah.
So if he can't play the rest of the series, I mean, he's their height, and on Orlando's side, they have 6 guys that are 6'10" or taller. So really, they need him for points in the paint and, of course, the boards.
Now, I will say this. The winner of this series, I think, is going to get smacked by Boston. I think Orlando actually, I know this may be backwards to some because Cleveland would come a shorter underdog than Orlando would against the Celtics. I think Orlando would give the Celtics a little bit more of a problem because of just, you mentioned it, they're so long. They were the best defensive team in the NBA this year as well, or second best defensive team in the NBA. It is, I think they are the tougher matchup. I think the Celtics would be Cleveland at 5. I think that would be a non-competitive Cleveland wins 1 game at home, 5-game series. Could be 5, could even be a sweep against Orlando, but I think that would be a more competitive series than a Cleveland-Celtic matchup in round 2.
I completely agree. I don't know what Orlando found. Those first 2 games looked like they had absolutely no offense. We're not clicking at all, but these last 3 have been a different team.
A little better from Paolo. I think it's as simple as that. When your star plays well, you look better. That's a little master of the obvious statement there, but Paolo's been, the first 2 games look totally lost.
Correct.
And has been, even in a losing effort in Game 5, Paolo Banchero was awesome in Game 5 and really good in the 2 home games there in Orlando. All right, the other game, Clippers, Dallas. Please let the series end tonight. Mavs are 7.5, total 208. Alex, I like the Mavs. I know the number's inflated, but I think the Mavs run them out. I think the Clippers are going to give up. As soon as this game Dallas gets out to a 10-point lead early, white flag. I just don't see it from the Clippers here in this one. I know that number probably should be closer to 5.5. It's inflated, but the white flag was waved in Game 5.
Yes, it was.
And there's no reason to think that the white flag will not be waved again if Dallas gets out big early.
Well, when you win by 30 on the road, it's
Yep.
hard not to move that and adjust that number up a little bit. I do like the Mavs, too, finishing the series. I don't know if I'm going to touch that spread, though. I think I'm just going to go money line with them. This is tough, though, Jeff. I mean, 3 of the 5 games, the underdog has won outright. So it's hard not to be tempted to even take the points for the Clippers to keep it close and make this a series. But no Kawhi again, and I think that's actually really starting to show up to hurt them. We saw a huge regression from James Harden, 7 points in the last game, which we were kind of expecting. So I would look to him maybe to have a bounce back game, maybe even over his 3-pointers in this one. But you're right. The possibility of them giving up in the 3rd or 4th quarter is definitely there.
Yeah, I want the series to end. I'm very curious, though, what the pricing will be on a Dallas-Oklahoma City series. That's fascinating to me because Dallas, even if they win this series in 6, impressive at times, extremely unimpressive at others. Oklahoma City, for the youngest team in NBA history to get the 1 seed, was fairly impressive in that series against New Orleans where, look, Lou Dort is an amazing defender, just totally had Brandon Ingram in jail basically the whole series. And he's a guy who could slow Luka down. So pre-playoffs, you and I both like Dallas over Oklahoma City. After a little more sample size, I'm not sure what I would do. All price dependent, but if you get a good price on Oklahoma City, I'd probably come on them in a series, especially if it's the Clippers. But they'll be a pretty nice size favorite if the Clippers come back and win the series.
They're not playing like one of the youngest teams in the league. After Game 1, very close against the Pelicans. Since then, they have been very confident, the Thunder. So it'll be a very interesting series.
Let's go to baseball before we wrap things up. It's a fun day for a lot of us in the studio, not me at least. You guys have some things to do on property at the top of the hour. Let's look at baseball real quick, though. I just want to bring this up. Actually, you know what? I'm going to hold this because you actually have this mentioned already.
Okay.
Because you and I actually have a play on the same game. I don't know if it's the same play, but we're on the same game. I just want to ask you real quick with this Dodgers and Braves game tonight, where we mentioned it in the starting five. This is 9.5. I know Garrett Stone has had his issues so far this year. Charlie Morton has not been the same guy at times. This is all more so just the offenses. Forget the starting pitchers here. Maybe good starting pitchers would bring this down to 8.5 at most. These offenses are electric. That's why we're going to have totals, even with reasonable starting pitching the whole weekend in LA, probably 8.5, 9 the whole weekend, Alex.
I agree. And I think we can actually go over this first game, over that 9.5. I think you're okay. Bringing up Stone, the last 3 starts that he's had, opponents' batting average has been 167. So, I mean, he has had his issues, but he's also kept the hits down. But it's all about the offense and the bats in this one for me. So I would look to over 9.5.
Going to Philadelphia next. This is a really good pitching matchup, and I'm a little bit surprised at how big of a favorite Aaron Nola is tonight. Minus 165 behind us. As high as minus 175 out there in the market. You can get as good as plus 155 on San Francisco tonight, Alex. Jordan Hicks has been electric so far. He struck out the first 7 in his last start, 9 Ks in that one. ERA sub-2. Didn't walk anyone his last time out. A little bit surprised, even though there could be some regression to the mean with the control for Hicks. Still surprised his price is as steep as it is on Philadelphia.
I'm not. And I actually jumped in last night, minus 145, because I thought
that is a great price.
I thought that was a great price. So this move here, I can't really give it out as a play because I wouldn't lay it now.
Right.
But I think beyond the pitching matchup, because we know Hicks and Nola have been very good, and I can go through those numbers, but really I'm looking at how the offense has done for both of these teams. The Phillies runs are up to an average of 5.9 in their last 7, batting average 279. On the flip side, San Francisco has just been struggling. Last 7 games, their batting average has dropped to 209, and they've averaged just 2.5 runs per game. So that's what pushes me even more to Philadelphia, especially being at home. I might jump in on the first 5 Phillies as well.
First 5.
But that's tough because I do think the pitching, if they can both go to 5, I think it'll be pretty close.
Let's go to the game you and I both have something on. Padres and Diamondbacks. Cease against Sisoni. Alex, I know you're looking at the total. I'm looking at a side. I think the Padres should be favored in this game, and we'll take Dylan Cease as the smallest of underdogs here behind us. The best number on the pods out there seemingly is minus 102. So negligible, to say the very least. I think the Padres should be favored in this game with Cease on the bump. So any underdog price on San Diego is good to me, and we'll take the small one here on the road in Arizona.
So other bettors don't agree with me because this number has moved up to 9.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking at going under 8.5. I'm still going under because of these two pitching. Cease, phenomenal 35 innings pitched, 2.78 ERA. And in his last 3 starts, the opponent's batting average is just 138. Not a lot from Ciccone, just 12 innings. So I could understand why you would like the Padres more in that one. But still 11 strikeouts and just one walk, 2.25 ERA. But it's really been the Padres have been struggling with their bats. They are 2-5 in their last 7, batting average 223. Diamondbacks 14-3 to the under against right-handed starters. I just think these two combined, we aren't going to see a whole lot of runs in this first one.
I just want to bring this one up before we get out of here for today. The Minnesota Twins have won 10 straight. Chris Paddock will go for them today against Tanner Houck, who's been awesome so far for Boston this year. Wild mover so far this morning. Opened at minus 108 on Minnesota, small favorite. Got all the way to Boston minus 112, and now has come aggressively the other way.
Wow.
With Minnesota now up to $1.19 and Boston at plus 109. I actually like the Red Sox in this game. I thought the move was right. It is a nice pitching advantage for Houck over Paddock. I I want to see how this market goes because this move, and this was rapid too. This was all within 35 minutes of itself. Let's see how high the Red Sox go. But as an underdog, I think the Sox are a good play here tonight on the road to snap that 10-game winning streak, and then Minnesota can throw away that home run sausage they've had in the dugout the last 10 days.
I'm with you. I think this is a great time to jump in on the Red Sox, getting plus money with them. You are right. It is definitely a pitching mismatch here. Huck with 41 strikeouts and just 5 walks. So he has been very good. We'll see if he can slow down this Minnesota team. But Minnesota has a lot to be happy about right now, right? We got the Timberwolves. We got the Twins on this winning streak.
Yeah, no, look, the the American League Central, we all got over before the year. Hey, this division's going to be terrible, all that. Other than the White Sox, who have been every bit as awful as anyone who faded them could have hoped, everyone else is over 500.
Yeah.
So the AL Central's off to a pretty good start. Minnesota's won 10 straight, and there's 2.5 games out of first place still. So it's been much better than expected. Now, will that hold? Probably not. But credit to the Twins, because it was really, really bad at the beginning of the year. They were like, oh, this is going to be one of the biggest disappointments in baseball. And they've rectified it pretty quickly with this 10-game winning streak.
What'd you say they have in the dugout?
Oh, you haven't seen that?
No.
No, they all right. And they didn't intend to go into this. Maybe this is a great topic for Frank later.
Okay.
One of their players, I don't know which player, got mailed by someone this special sausage. I don't know exactly what it was. Didn't want it. Left it out for someone to claim it. Hey, take this before it spoils. And then the hitting coach determined, because they hit 2 home runs on the day that the sausage got delivered, hey, this thing's good luck.
Oh, gosh.
So they've kept it sealed, thankfully, for the time being, for the last 11 days, that this is the special home run sausage. Okay. Now, someone is going to end up with a horrible day when that thing inevitably opens all over someone. But yeah, that is a thing that is going on right now with Minnesota. It is. That thing's got to be gross right now after being out of a refrigerator for more than 10 days. More than a day would be gross, but 10 days, yikes.
Baseball and the superstitions.
Yeah, bizarro. Very much so. All right, that's all the time we have today. We're back tomorrow, 9 o'clock in the morning. Alex and I will be back here. Vinny will be with us hopefully tomorrow as well, getting you ready for the Kentucky Derby tomorrow. Of course, if you want all the best Kentucky Derby coverage, stay on the channel. Our Kentucky Derby preview. Race Day Las Vegas earlier today and yesterday. 6 o'clock, correct, for the show at the Grandview, streamed live. Ralph Sirocco, John Lindo, and more here. You can get it at 6 o'clock live here at South Point Studio. Alex, good work as always. Caden, Sean, thank you. I'm Jeff Parles. We'll see you tomorrow at 9. Sports by the Book, South Point Studio.